If you've been scrolling through endless product pages, watching side-by-side comparisons, and still can't decide which wireless video transmitter is the one that actually makes sense for your workflow, this review is going to clear that up. I've spent the last few weeks talking to a handful of indie filmmakers, gear rental houses, and a couple of live stream crews that are already using the new Teradek Bolt 6 LT internal antenna kit. And I've pulled their real-world experiences together, so you don't have to chase the specs alone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation most people have is the trade-off between range and convenience. Traditional Bolt setups come with external rabbit antennas that you have to mount on a rig or a gimbal, which adds bulk and a point of failure. The Bolt 6 LT version replaces those with internal antennas, promising a slimmer profile and a more rugged package. The question then becomes, does that sleekness cost you anything when you push the unit out of a studio and into a real-world location? In the field tests I heard about, the internal antenna held up just fine in a 50-foot radius inside a warehouse, and the signal stayed rock solid when the transmitter was mounted on a handheld gimbal on a moving subject. That's the sweet spot for most documentary shooters who need to stay mobile, but don't require the kilometer range that a full-size external antenna would give. Who should buy this? If you're a solo creator, or a small crew that already uses Teradek's Bolt ecosystem, whether it's the Bolt 4K or the newer Bolt 6, you'll find the internal antenna kit most valuable. The built-in antenna eliminates the need for a separate antenna bracket, meaning you can attach the transmitter directly to a camera's hot shoe or a small rig without worrying about balance. That translates to faster setups, especially when you're shooting on the fly in tight spaces like crowded city streets, a cramped indoor event, or a moving vehicle. The unit also runs on the same 6 GHz band that newer routers are adopting, so you get a cleaner spectrum with less interference from Wi-Fi or other common devices, a real boon when you're streaming a live concert or a wedding where multiple wireless systems are in the room. On the flip side, if you're a big-budget production that relies on long-range point-to-point links, say you need to send a feed from a high-up crane to a control truck 500 feet away, you'll probably want to stick with the classic external antenna configuration. The internal antenna's range is deliberately limited to make sure the 6 GHz signal stays strong and low latency, but it won't match the raw reach of a larger, directional antenna array. Also, if you already have a well-stocked gear bag full of external antenna solutions and you're comfortable with the extra rigging time, the cost savings of the internal kit might not be enough to justify the change. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths that matter after you open the box. The zero delay claim is more than just marketing jargon. It's grounded in Teradek's patented BB3 chip, which keeps latency under a single frame even at 4K 30 fps 10-bit 4:2:2 HDR. In real-world terms, that means you can monitor a live feed on a field monitor, and the picture you see will be exactly what the camera is recording, no noticeable lag. For anyone who's tried other wireless HDMI solutions and ended up with a one-frame delay that screws up focus pulling, this is a genuine workflow win. Another hidden benefit is the power flexibility. The Bolt 6 LT kit can draw power from a standard end battery or via a 12V DC input, which is a common setup on most cinema rigs. Users I spoke with liked that they could run the transmitter off the same battery that powers the camera, cutting down on cable clutter. In a practical scenario, say you're filming a short documentary in a remote location with limited power, the ability to feed both camera and transmitter from one battery can extend your runtime by about 30% compared to using separate power sources. There are a couple of practical weaknesses worth noting. Because the antenna is internal, you lose the ability to fine-tune its directionality. With external antennas, you can aim them toward a specific receiver, reducing the chance of signal dropouts caused by obstacles. In cramped indoor environments, especially those with metal structures or concrete walls, a few users reported occasional flickers when they moved the camera farther than 30 feet. It isn't a deal breaker, But it's something to keep in mind if you frequently shoot in dense urban settings where line of sight can be blocked. Another nuance is the heat management. The compact design means there's less surface area to dissipate heat, so during long continuous runs, think an 8-hour live stream, the unit can become warm to the touch. In most tests the transmission remained stable, but a few professionals said they'd mount a small fan or a heatsink accessory on the side of the transmitter for extra peace of mind. If you're planning marathon shooting sessions, consider that extra step. Overall value comes from the fact